Hey everybody, I'm Dave. Welcome back to the Radio Afterglow. Appreciate you stopping by to listen to me tonelessly ramble on about some records, but appreciate it. Today I'm going to talk about one of the couple of focus areas I have in my collection. When I started collecting vinyl again back, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, I just wanted to grab one of everything, right? Just took a shotgun approach to it, but not being independently wealthy, not having won any sort of lottery, found out that real quick that can be difficult. And jumping from genre to genre and style to style and things like that were just, you go insane. At least I would. So I'm trying to focus things down. You know what I've shown in the past. Now here's another. I've got really two main focus areas, and this is the other one. I'm really excited about collecting Michigan bands, artists, and kind of keeping it in the rockish sort of genres. But yeah, anything from a Michigan band, Michigan artist, I want to really add that to my collection. I really want to have a good collection of Michigan-based artists because I'm just proud of my home state. So in the music and that has come out of there, and the impact that Michigan and Detroit have made on rock in general. And to start things off, before I get into the records, I want to talk about a couple of other things that are definitely of interest to anybody who has even kind of a passing interest in the Detroit, in particular the Detroit rock scene. This first one is a DVD that my daughter got me for this just past Christmas, and that's called Louder Than Love. And this is a documentary about the Grandy Ballroom, which was a rock concert hall there in Detroit that existed, well, as a concert hall it existed since the late 20s, early 30s, but in terms of rock and all that sort of scene, it was short-lived. From the late 60s, it closed, I believe, in 70 or 71. It is now decrepit and crumbling, and like most things in Detroit. But there's a group of people that are getting together, Friends of the Grandy Ballroom. Look them up on Facebook. Apparently the building is owned by a Baptist church now. The Friends are trying to get enough money together to revitalize it, to save it, essentially, and they will turn it into a community activity center. No more rock concerts, but yeah, I mean, really, even though it was a short-lived venue, I mean, the impact that it had on not only Detroit but the world of rock. The MC5 got their launch here. They were the house band. The Who were on the verge of calling it quits. They had a really shitty U.S. tour, and they came into the Grandy tired and disillusioned, and the crowd just the reaction from the crowd was enough to, Roger Daltrey gives an interview in the DVD here, and he just, spells it out. We were going to quit until we came to Detroit and played the Grandy. So, but yeah, check this out. It's got some great footage, great interviews, great audio. You can get it on Amazon for like $17 or something like that. Definitely, if you're interested in that sort of thing, this is a good documentary to get a hold of. And before I drop it on the floor, this next thing is a book called Grit, Noise, and Revolution: The Birth of Detroit Rock and Roll. And this is by David Carson, who gives an interview in the DVD. But this is all about the earliest days of rock and roll in Detroit. Again, the MC5 figures big in here. He talks a lot about their interactions with John Sinclair, the Fifth Estate. Of course, Wayne Kramer did some time in the federal pen down here in Lexington for a joint. But, if you're familiar with the MC5, you know all about that. But really, really good if you're wanting to learn about obscure rock, obscure labels. This is just a well-researched, very readable reference book. And again, even if you have a passing interest in Detroit and its impact on the world of rock, this is a book you want to check out. He also wrote another one about the rock radio, the DJs and the stations and things like that in Detroit. And so that's on my to-be read list, or to-be bought list right now. But yeah, I definitely want to pick that up. Really good author. Alright, now for the stuff that you're probably really here about, and that would be the records. First up, you may not be too familiar with this band. You should be, but you definitely, if you've seen the cover, you'll remember it. And that is Frigid Pink. This is their self-titled debut album. Came out January of 1970, I believe, on Parrot Records. And Frigid Pink were from Downriver, Detroit area, Allen Park, places like that. And of course, they were active at the Grandy scene, obviously, in 1970, and Led Zeppelin opened for these guys at the Grandy. And they play straight up blues rock, a little bit of boogie. They're best known, I believe, for their rendition of House of the Rising Sun, which is just kick-ass. And it actually charted. It was in the top 10 at one point in 1970. But yeah, this is really great album. It starts off a little weak, but as things progress, of course, you know, House of the Rising Sun on the second side, but they've got Drivin' Blues is a great song. End of the Line is pretty good. Yeah, if you're into 70s blues rock with, you know, just drenched in fuzzy guitar and a little bit of boogie, so a little bit of soul, this is a album or a band also that you really need to be aware of. So, Frigid Pink's self-titled debut. Check it out. Getting a little bit more, well, hold on a second. Alright. Getting a little bit more recent. This is another debut album. This came out actually in early 2017, March or something like that. This is the Angle of Eternity, and the band's name is Cruhu. It is not spelled at all how it is pronounced. It is a Gaelic word for creation. And I'll spell it out on the screen somewhere where you can, or if I have it already, where you can see how to spell it. But anyway, this is Cruhu. They're out of Lansing. Again, this is their debut album. They are a traditional doom band, and so right away you should be thinking Black Sabbath, and that's, you know, you pretty much have to think that every time you think of a traditional doom band. But yeah, they're right up there. Early Sabbath, Reverend Bizarre, Candlemass, Witchfinder General, I'm sorry. Right in there, that's what they play. Plodding, traditional doom. There's a little bit of up-tempo stuff here and there, but for the most part, here you go. It is 6 tracks, but it is something like 40 minutes or something like that. So I guess you could consider it full length. This was they put this out on their own, self-released, but and I think you can still buy copies on Bandcamp. They're not streaming it anymore for some reason. Well, the reason is likely that they did sign to the Church Within label, and that label is going to be reissuing this album actually the 23rd of this month, so in a couple of weeks. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be only in Europe or if it's also going to be in the US, but Church Within is a German label, I believe. And here's a custom label there. Well, you know, it's their own self-released, so they can do what they want. But I'm going to do a little needle drop on this one, just because you can't really stream it, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube if you want, but, you know, for those who don't want to take the extra time, I'm going to put the needle down on Seance, which is one of their more up-tempo tracks. My favorite off of this album, so check it out. right, so that was Kruhu. Angle of Eternity is the name of the album, and Seance is the name of the song. So check them out. Out of Lansing. Looking forward to their next album. If you're into Doom, you should be too. Okay, I know this guy doesn't get a lot of love in the vinyl community, but you know, so what? He's one of my favorite artists, my wife's favorite artist. We see him in concert whenever we can, and we just saw him later last year. I believe it was November. I think it was. No, it was earlier than that. I don't know. Whatever. It was. It's Bob Seger I'm talking about, and of course it was the show before the last show when he had his back issues and canceled the rest of his tour. So we're very fortunate to have seen him when we did. Saw him up in Cincinnati. And this is his third album as Bob Seger System, and this is Mongrel. And this came out in 1970, I believe, summer of 1970, I think August or something like that. I'm digging this cover. I mean, this is probably, you know, I'm not really Bob Seger's covers are really not all that great, but this is probably one of the top 3 covers of his that I really kind of dig. Tom Weschler is the artist here, but yeah, came out in 1970 on Capitol Records. This, unfortunately, is not an original press. The original press is a gatefold. This just happened to be the first one I came across that, you know, these are not, I see them every now and then, but they're usually not in good condition, or they're outrageously expensive. So this was, the price was right, and it was fairly good condition, so picked it up. But yeah, this is, I believe, a 1976 reissue, and the reason I say that is because it's on that eighth variation of the Capitol label there. So yeah, anyway, Bob Seger, of course, most of you who are familiar with him and his music are familiar with the late 70s, 80s period when he was at the height of his popularity, and he, you know, he's best known for those sort of introspective, nostalgic sort of songs, which I love. But at this period, you know, this often gets forgotten, I believe, by most people. Is, you know, he was really a badass blues rocker. And on this album, you check out the song Lucifer. Look it up here on YouTube. That, I mean, shit, man. And Leaning on My Dream is another good one. This, you know, he's got some good blues, good boogie, lots of soul. He does a pretty jamming cover of Ike and Tina's River Deep Mountain High on this album as well. So, you know, like I say, if you're into 70s blues rock, don't forget about Bob Seger, especially the Bob Seger System period. This is really good stuff. So yeah, Mongrel is an album you definitely should check out. And if that wasn't enough for you, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go with Bob Seger's 7, and of course this is his 7th album overall. Contrast down here is just the name of the artwork, which to me reminds me a lot of Abacab from Genesis, although this obviously predates. Well, I shouldn't say obviously because I haven't said when it came out yet. It came out in 1974. But yeah, of course the artist is different. Tom Weschler again did this one. But yeah, this came out in 1974, spring, I believe. And this is the first album where he named his backing band the Silver Bullet Band. Of course, they're not credited on the cover or in the title as such, but I believe on here somewhere it says, oh hell, I don't remember. Yep, there it is right there. Silver Bullet Band. So this is the first appearance. Of course, now this was originally issued, if you hadn't noticed the little Capitol logo already, this was originally issued, like I said, in 1974 on Reprise Records. This is a Capitol repress, and I'm not sure of the date, but given the fact that it is, again, an 8th variation label, somewhere between 72 and 76, and since it was originally issued in 74, It's obviously sometime between 74 and 76. So not much of a later reissue, but still. And again, this is straight up blues rock. This is he starts to delve a little bit into his introspective stuff with 20 Years From Now and All Your Love, which are good songs. But Get Out of Denver is on here, which was a minor hit. I believe it might have just barely cracked the top 100. And UMC, Upper Middle Class. That's another kick-ass song. You know, social justice stuff he's talking about. And again, great boogie, great blues, lots of soul. And even though he's got the Silver Bullet Band with him on this one, there's a couple of interesting session musicians. He's got Tommy Cogbill, a legendary bassist out of Nashville, and Charlie McCoy on guitar, also legendary session musician. So again, sorry for the fanboy shit, but you really need to check out early Bob Seger stuff if you're into the blues rock sort of thing. So that's it. All I got for today. Some good Michigan bands that if you are interested at all in the Michigan rock scene, I suggest you check out every single one of these albums. Alright? Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me ramble and waste a few minutes of your day, and can't thank you enough. Alright? Later.